Good morning. It should be a Wednesday morning when you can see this video. I could say I'm doing fine, but I don't know. I'm doing fine today. I don't know what I'll be doing Wednesday. But as I told you before, I did these 3 videos back to back. That's why you see me in the same shirt and in the same place. So we're going to go over phases 6 and 7 today, which will be the last one. Hit on a quick review of the 7 phases, and then tomorrow you'll have another writing assignment today, and tomorrow you'll have your test upon the Cold War. And then Monday, hopefully, I will be back. So let's jump into the sixth phase. Remember, we studied the Cold War in 7 phases. 7 phases. Okay, this is the 6th phase, and the phase is just simply something that a time that historians break down to study the Cold War. Okay, so the 6th phase is from 1969 to 1978. We're getting into modern times. During this phase, détente, I'll spell it, détente, Detente, détente policies begin to come into effect. All a détente policy was, it was the easing of hostilities against the USSR. And they were supposed to also ease the hostilities towards us. In other words, begin to trust each other, right? If you believe that really took place, see me on Monday and I'll send you some land in Florida. It's about a mile off the coast and about 2 miles down bottom of the ocean. But it'll be yours. But that's what détente was. Now, détente continues all the way to the end of the Cold War. And so towards the latter part of the Cold War, the détente was actually working. But here, when it was first introduced, it was introduced to keep nuclear war, the possibility of a nuclear war, to a very minimum. At this point, we all know what nuclear war would do to the world. And so we wanted to keep it to a minimum, the possibility of nuclear war. So far, we have not had a nuclear war. And no, Marcus, we do not have a nuclear war. It hadn't happened yet, or you wouldn't be here. So détente started in 1969. And we begin to ease the hostilities towards the USSR. President Nixon was elected as president in 1972. He thought it was a great idea to have détente as a public policy, meaning that he would get up and tell everybody publicly that détente was working. But privately, on the backside, he did not trust Russia. Matter of fact, he was worse against Russia than Truman was back in 1940s when he came up with the Truman Doctrine, which was an open fight against communism. We openly said, we're going to keep you from spreading your communism. Nixon did it on the backside, or the shy, or around the corner. He would say that the détente is working, but when he would get back into his office, he wanted to kill the Russians and destroy them and blow them up and use them. Actually, he actually wanted to nuke them a couple of times, but it never happened. Now, during this time, it's the arms race. Remember, arms race. Arms race is where people are trying to see which country can have the most arms and the better arms. Arms meaning weapons. The nuclear weapons in particularly. Russia wanted to have the biggest and the best, and America wanted to have the biggest and the best. And now we got weapons that we could actually kick up in the air, send off, and then they can go to hundreds of different locations at the same time. And these nuclear weapons would actually be, once they are dispersed and go into 100 different locations, it'll be hard to stop them. So even if you stop 1 or 2 of them, there's even if you stop more than that, then the likelihood is you cannot stop all of them. So therefore, there's going to be a lot of damage. So Nixon is president. So in the back room, he is really wanting to blow Russia off the map. So there are some more treaties that showed up in 1978 and 79 era. Don't worry about the dates, but this is what you need. The SALT 1 and 2 treaty surfaced. SALT. That's SALT. That's the Soviet American Lateral Treaty. These are treaties, I'll say it again, the Soviet, and you'll have it on your handout, Soviet American Lateral Treaty. These treaties were put into effect to actually keep nuclear war from happening. The problem is that in 1979, the Soviet Union invaded Afghanistan. They're going to spend 8 years over there, and they're going to be losing the war the whole 8 years. They lose the war big time in Afghanistan. Matter of fact, this is what bankrupts the Soviet Union and actually divides it. We'll find that after this, they lose a lot of their satellites that they thought they would keep forever, portions of it. Like, for instance, Ukraine. Ukraine declares its freedom and leaves the Soviet Union during this period of time because the Soviet Union is bankrupt. They spent so much money on the Afghanistan war that they can't keep their country together. And so the SALT 1 and 2 treaties did not pass because the Soviet Union actually invaded Afghanistan. The Afghanistan war actually caused the Soviet Union to deplete its military, not only men-wise, the soldiers depleted because they were a lot killed, but it almost depleted their complete arsenal of conventional weapons. Conventional weapons are weapons that are used that are not nuclear. They're like this machine gun and the rocket launcher and the tank, and that's conventional weapons. Nuclear weapons are nuclear weapons. So they actually used up, for you that don't quite understand the other word, they used up all the military weapons. So they almost depleted them, meaning they almost got rid of every common weapon they had except nuclear. So now they don't have anything to fight with. So they withdraw from Afghanistan after, I think, 8 months after being completely whooped. And I'm going to show you where history repeats itself again here in a second. Seventh phase is 1970 to 1991. The Cold War ends in 1991. This is the last phase. It's phase 1970 to 1991. Détente kept going during this period of time. Actually made it up to 1979. When the Soviet Union, USSR, invaded Afghanistan, the United States canceled détente and said, now we're going to help the Afghans. So what we did as Americans, they went in and they supplied the Afghan with money and weapons to defeat the Soviets. Does that sound anything like something happening today? The Soviets didn't learn from that history. They went in and they fought and lost. Now they have actually invaded Ukraine, and Soviets going against Ukraine, and who is supplying weapons and money to Ukraine? The United States. So here we have history, the principle of history, actually repeating itself again. 1979, Soviet Union tried this. It didn't work. Now they're trying it in the 2000s. Will it work? We're not quite sure yet. That's to be determined. But from all practical points that I can hear, Soviets is losing the war in Afghanistan. And so I believe the Soviets need to lose the war in Afghanistan. But we'll see how that goes. But here we have history repeating itself. 1979, they invaded Afghanistan. Didn't work. They had to withdraw. They lost everything. They lost people. They lost war machinery. They lost weaponry. And they went broke, ladies and gentlemen, because in 1979, sorry about that. We had a little interruption there for a second. But I'm back. So now it's repeating itself. In 1979, 79, the Soviet Union withdrew from Afghanistan. They lost. Then in 1991, the Cold War officially ended. Now that's when everybody says it is ended. But in 1989, November 9th, 1989, the Berlin Wall came down. Historians, like myself, believe that the end of the Cold War, or the beginning of the end of the Cold War, either way, ended not in 1991, but in 1989, when we had the Berlin Wall begin to collapse. Because the Berlin Wall, as I said before, is something that you need to make sure you write down and remember for tomorrow, was the symbol of the Cold War. That wall that divided Berlin from the east to the west, that was the symbol of the Cold War. Well, when that came down, the symbol of the Cold War is now collapsing. They're tearing it down, and they started on November 9th, 1989. They started tearing it down. The wall collapsed under President, what is his name? Reagan and Khrushchev. That was it. It was done. Over with. The problem with that is that at this point now, 1989, Russia is broke. They're losing everything. They're on the outs. They lost a lot of countries. The leaders of the nation, like Khrushchev and all them, were kicked out of power and all that stuff. And now we have someone that is in power in Russia by the name of, what is his name? Putin. Putin came in power in 1991, and he's been in power ever since. Now you're going to see history repeating itself again. If Putin doesn't win in Ukraine, he is going to be kicked out, probably executed, and his whole staff and all that will probably be kicked out as well, either sent to prison, executed, or something like that, because he failed to win. And he's going to come back broke out of Ukraine. Ukraine's really causing the USSR to spend a lot of money. Okay, so at this point, you're going to get your writing assignment. Do your writing assignment, put it in the basket. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, put it in the basket. Because tomorrow, you're authorized, and you can tell the teacher if they need to listen to this video, to use those 3 reading assignments, plus any notes that you might have on the test that's going to be on Thursday, which is tomorrow. You will have a 20 question test. But do your writing assignment. Do it. If you do the 3 writing assignments, you'll pass the test. If you didn't do the 3 writing assignments, you'll flunk the test. And you that know that you didn't do the 3 writing assignments will probably flunk that test. And so we'll find out when I grade them on next weekend. Okay, so tomorrow I will not be talking to you by video, but I will have a test there for you to take. Good luck on the test. Have a nice Wednesday night, and I will see you Monday, hopefully. So at this point, I wish you a happy weekend, and I'll see you on Monday. Bye for now.